My wife had a diary where she wrote what made her happy. It wasn't me. Hi everyone, welcome back to another Reddit cheating story. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you won't miss another cheating story goes live. My wife and I are both 32. We've been together since I was 17. We dated for 6 years before I asked her to marry me. Engaged for another 5. Our third wedding anniversary is this month. We had our daughter 9 months after our honeymoon. I've always felt so solid in her love. Never been jealous of male friends. Happy for her to go places without me, holidays and work trips included. We've both had jobs that involve traveling and extended periods from home. Since having our daughter, she hasn't returned to work, rather, started an art business. Her work is brilliant, but time-consuming, and she doesn't charge enough. This means she takes on more than she can physically complete, adding her own time constraints to try and make the money. This year has been a tough one for me. My mom finally lost what has been an on/off battle with cancer in August. The last 2 years have been downhill, only with new cancers in her uterus, then after a period, her brain. It had spread too much for the treatments to work properly. My wife came with me to the hospital, had one-on-one visits with her due to COVID visitor restrictions. I went to the palliative care hospital. I've also lost both grandfathers this year. When my mom first had cancer, my dad got really into slot cars. Really into them. He needed something to help him cope and switch off, I suppose. This time, however, he got really into conspiracies and Kanun. He was pretty invested in the med beds to fix my mom. I know he would have spoken to her about it. I have a niggling thing in the back of my mind that says it might have affected her wanting to keep fighting. That's a tough one to sit with. He loved her so much. Work hasn't been the best either. I can honestly say I'm objectively good at what I do. One of the best in my company. The projects I was being put on earlier in the year were unrewarding and limited my earning potential. It hurt my value and self-esteem. When I can start early and squeeze in some easy overtime, I do. That gets me home in time for my daughter to wake from her nap. While my wife paints, I spend time with my daughter, cook dinner, then call the wife in. After dinner I bathe my daughter, then put her down. At this point I've essentially been working from 6 till 8:30. I pay all the bills, I do all the shopping, I help around the house when I can. Weekends I dad all day both days while she paints, except for when we occasionally went somewhere. In October she stopped me and told me she wasn't happy with us. She'd said she wasn't happy, but in the state I was in I thought she was just having a rough time. Me neither, I'd empathize. She said she didn't know if we were compatible but wanted to go to couples counseling. She said a friend of hers went and her ex were still really good friends. That took me aback a bit. I realized how serious it was. At another point she wanted me to say we'd always be amicable. I thought that was really weird. So naive. I always bought her flowers. Told her I loved her. That she was beautiful. I've paid for most things through our relationship and never thought anything of it. It's our money. We're a team. We bought a house. I pay the whole mortgage so she could keep her savings because she was worried about it since she stopped working. We'd always gone halves with that at least. Sex had fallen by the wayside for the most part. That was very hard on me, probably her too, but I'll leave the excuses to her. I probably should have said something, but I kept prioritizing what I thought she wanted. I'd fall asleep in the studio on the couch while she painted at night. Being near her was better than nothing. It wasn't quality time though. I considered our whole relationship, her and their importance to me. I want to fix this. I told her I wasn't going to wait for the counseling to show her I loved her. Our first anniversary we had a 3-month-old at the height of COVID. The second I couldn't remember doing anything special. October, November, December. 3 months, 3 years. I was going to celebrate her anniversary so hard. For October I folded a bunch of different colored origami cranes and hearts. I also made a picture of some different flowers with paper cutouts I drew up. For November I was working on a cross stitch of our wedding day. For our 3-year I was taking her horse riding, then booked a cottage with all the extras packages. The first counseling session in early October I said what I thought the issues were. We don't communicate enough or effectively. We prioritized our daughter so much we forgot about each other. We went through my family and their relationships. She mentioned the compatibility again. The next week she went out with some friends she worked with in this state. While she was getting ready I went to look at her painting. I saw a diary I'd never seen with "whatever makes you happy" on the front. I read a bit of the first page. It seemed to be a goodbye letter to someone she worked with and was friends with. I thought this isn't for me, closed it and went back to cooking dinner. I heard her go out there briefly then come back inside. When she left she said goodbye to my daughter then me. A peck on the lips. It felt cold. I felt it. She went out front to wait for her Uber. As soon as she left I went out again. It wasn't there anymore. I searched for a long time before finding where she hid it. I opened it and found she had serious feelings for this guy, at least on their last job, 4 months after we were married. We were messaging and calling a lot at that time because of the distance. I even started playing guitar and she said she fell in love with me all over again. They had worked together for 2 years. She'd even used the word love a few times. In the sense that she knew she loved him. I messaged her, she played coy till I sent a pic of the front of the diary. She called me and asked if I wanted her to come home. I said do what you want, you do anyway. She got another Uber home. We turned on the TV for our daughter and went outside to talk. She was very reserved to begin with. I told her I'd read it all and she asked, the journal or emails too. She told me she was so confused. She said not everything in the journal was real and she'd kept it like a diary. She didn't know she could be in love with 2 people at the same time. That all the feelings went away when she went on maternity leave and when she saw I was a great dad and supportive husband. That she felt broken and there was something wrong with her. I thought it weird that she had a 2-year-old journal out. Then I remembered the break she needed in September. She works hard, I thought. I'll be dad again and you can take some time for you. This year has been rough on you too. She was staying interstate with a mutual friend but had plans to catch up with some people she worked away with. We went back in the house without addressing that yet. Our daughter had been watching TV for a while. I turned it off and she asked me to put it back on for a bit. We went back out and she told me she saw the work friends the first night. She left a female's house with him and went back to his place. And slept in his bed. She woke up to him initiating something and let it happen. But it had just been that time and all the feelings had been gone until then. I left the house and stayed at a friend's place. Didn't go to work. I'd already had about 6 weeks off this year from other events. I ignored her calls. Wrote a long email to her telling her how I felt. No reply. I did the same thing the next day and she copy-pasted and replied with dot points. She sent me videos of my daughter saying goodnight. It was hard to be away from her. We've talked a bit and she keeps up with a lot of things I don't know. I'm not sure what I feel, I don't know if I want to be with you or alone. I asked her if she'd really want someone who did what he did in our daughter's life. She said, and her journal entries from after implied that he didn't feel the same way really. That being with him wasn't an option. We've been to more counseling sessions. It seems fairly moot from my side. I've been feeling like it's not how she wanted it but it is what she wanted. I had told her I still love her and wanted to try and work through it. I've had to spend a bit of time away from home. I can't be there. I know that leaves her to do everything there and care for our daughter. I know she doesn't think that's fair. I also know it's a taste of what she can expect as a single mom. Not why I've done it though. I know it makes her life harder. But why the fuck should I make it easier? I've done the math on what I'd be left with at the end of a week if we split. It's not great for me either. I'm starting to reach the stage of not caring what she wants. If I've given her my everything and it wasn't enough for her, or enough to respect me to talk about it, what's the point? How could I ever feel confident in her love again? I owe it to myself to be loved deeply and truly by someone. Maybe one day someone who is deserving of my love and reciprocal in it will come my way. A big part of me wants to try. But I think a bigger part of me can't get over the enormity of it. I wish the 2 parts would figure themselves out. Thank you for watching and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for any future cheating stories.